Okay, we're going to quickly go around. We don't want to spend too much time, so we'll start with this group here. Just pick on one of the things that you discussed and what you spoke about.
We did the second one, which is my desire for money is more than my desire for God.
Yeah.
We thought the man would be thinking that money seems an easier prospect than God, and it seems an easier thing to go for. We thought the jid would be engaged with the money, but it would be in the off state with God, and the bud would be remembering that it is seeing people with loads of money that have been happier than people with God, but obviously that's not true. And Homer would be saying, oh, I'm really good at making money, why don't I just make some more and carry on making money?
Very good.
We did the last one. I love my EastEnders, so don't tell me to stop watching that.
Okay.
And that is just because you're sort of drifting away into whatever you're doing, and you're not focusing on wanting to meet God or city.
Very good.
Second from the bottom, the one.
Try the microphone, Lily.
Yes.
Sorry, what?
It's just which one you did and what was your basic, how was it breaking into 4 bits?
Okay, choose one. The first one, yeah? Okay, the first one, Sikhs don't need Umrah to be good people. I think we said it's a combination of all of them. And there's another one that we also talked about was that where we don't get absorbed into Kirtan or Gurbani. Again, it could be the knowledge, wisdom part as well. If we don't understand it, then we're going to find it difficult to get absorbed, and then the jiddah and so, and then the man doesn't keep as well. So again, it all goes down with the centre point being the man, I think. But yeah, that's what we discussed.
Good. Good. Pass it over to left.
We touched on each one of them. We said mainly most of them were drawn by Maya or money, because your mind, your wisdom, always thinking that you always have the advantage, or you're always being reassured that something else is always there to take its place. So, like the first one, Sikhs don't need to have armor to be good people. People can't make the commitment, so they reassure themselves that they're good. And then they're better than most of them, just reassuring themselves again.
We talked about the death one, and that the mind doesn't want to think about death because it's irrelevant to us. Obviously we haven't experienced death, so we don't want to think that it's a negative thing, so we don't want to touch on that. The jid doesn't feel like talking about death because it's negative again. It's always been associated with negative stuff. And your Buddhi says that you haven't got an idea of death, so you don't need to be talking about that. It's not going to happen to you. Then that's when Homer comes in, that you're not going to die. Sort of, it's not going to happen to you, so you don't need to think about it.
So it's not present. So yeah. Okay.
We spoke about the one about the Bangla lyrics. just because I think it brings a bit about the jinn, because you're remembering about how you used to feel in the olden days, and you're remembering that feeling again. But also about the Buddha, because if something's drilled in you from such a young age, I think once you keep remembering it, it actually sinks within your inner wisdom. We also spoke about the love for EastEnders, and saying that it was a bit about the home there, but a mixture really, because of everything else gets combined into those.
We're talking about the second one, my desire to be really rich is much stronger than my desire to meet God. And essentially it was the Home was the overruling one over all of the others, in terms it was your ego to make more money and to be better than everyone else, that effectively overruled the others three as well.
I think all of them have got every single aspect of all four, but in each different scenario, one overpowers the other, which ultimately gets rid of your focus, the guru.
Yeah, it's good observation, because it's a that's why Guruji calls it a man as well, because they're all four really, and it's just going to touch in each one to some extent. And if, like we talked about, homemade driving it, once that drives it, that's when we're in trouble. And that the buddhi bit, that's the bit you're changing it to the guru's wisdom. What we got a worldly wisdom in there, and it might be upbringing, it might be like environment, it might be education, it might be television, it could be anything, it could be books. But that wisdom thing, Guruji saying, if you change that, then that starts working two ways. So that's good observation, that all four, usually you find it's in all of them somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with Benji, because we were thinking the same thing. Everyone we looked at, it was like, is it this or that? But I'm just having a top look at, I've done nickname for many years, but it has not much effect. I think if you look at that one, it seems as though there's a bit of chit in there, because the stubbornness that I've been doing it that many years, and then you say, but it has not had much effect, so that, I think that would be a good. So that's, I guess.
So when we're doing like Nithanim, or we listen to Kirtan, or we're doing something like that, and we feel it's not affecting us that much, what's switched off then? What do we think is switched off? Something switched off, isn't it? Is that your? So I'm just trying to say, if you understand that
again, Bhaji, please say that again.
If when we're doing Nithanim, let's say we've done it for 15 years, and we say it doesn't have much effect now, it's just become this kind of thing that we get done in a few minutes. Why is that? That's what I'm asking.
Is that the Hamadism coming into play, like you're saying, okay, I've been doing that anyway. So it is coming down to that, they're all mixing in, aren't they?
Yeah. But one of the key things is that your chit isn't in it, huh?
Yeah.
Not yours, I mean generally, that our chit isn't in that thing. So when we're doing it, our feeling ain't in it. But our feeling's great in our TV program. And our feeling's great in a conversation that can last 3 hours. You can watch a film for 3 hours and you could be totally besotted by it. And you know, these guys eat their popcorn and they eat like loads of it and they don't realise. That's what they're finding, because they're like that. So. But why can't we do 3 hours? It's worth asking ourselves, why can't we do 3 hours of Simran like that? Where we just gone nutty. We've gone loopy, you know? Can't do it, you know? Because the chit is not engaged. So we have to do something to engage it. So that, and which of the group is it? Is that every group? Yeah. Is that group there?
Nobody wants it. We discussed quite a few of them, but I think it's what everybody else has said. We discussed the last one as well, maybe not EastEnders, but
We were just saying it's easier to watch a program like you've just said for 2 hours because your jit is in it. You're entertained, your mind's entertained. As soon as you come to doing Gurbani, you don't find it entertaining, so your jit turns off. It's just saying, I don't like this, but sometimes your mind knows that you should be doing it, so you might persevere with it. Because your jit is not into it, it won't go. So we sort of were thinking that actually all four have to be into it. And once the four are linked together, then you begin to enjoy that Gurbani or Simran.
Do you have anything different there? Raj, did your group? Just so that while they're getting warmed up, I mean, just one of the key things that even if we take away that thing, you know, to put some emotion into something, Guruji says, even if Gur ke bachan aradiye naam rang bairag. Now he's talking about two emotions there, rang and bairag. That's emotion. That's jit. That's applying your jit into something. And rang and bairag. Rang is love. And bairag is to be detached from everything else and be engrossed in that. And that's what effectively we do. We do that with our worldly thing. We detach ourselves from everything. Nothing else matters at that point when that thing's on television. Nothing matters. And you become switched off. We've done that effectively there. But we can't do it effectively when it's time for us to engage ourselves inside of some, I don't use worship, but it's like the thing that we're doing is remembrance. It's like becoming part, seeing God's inside of us and being happy about that. That's a feeling. It's not just it's not a concept, it's a feeling. You know? So Gurbani is a feeling. That's the thing. If we could take that away, that's important. And that group there.
Yeah, we discussed my old habits keep on coming back. He said how the mind basically interacts with the body, and he says, oh, I'm used to doing it this way, carry on sort of thing. And he just sort of remembers the old feelings, the old memories that you got of doing whatever you do, or say, or talk, and so it carries on like that. And the Bud basically feels comfort in the other two because your Bud knows the knowledge of what you've already done before, so it's already in your head anyway, so it sort of becomes regular sort of thing, so it's harder to break your old habit than it is trying to take a new one. Then your homemate obviously says, yeah, I can do that, it's alright, so I can carry on doing it that way as well.
So in terms of the wisdom can kind of fight it as well. You might be doing something, you remember it, you say, oh, that was good, I used to do it before, I know that, but I'm not supposed to be doing that now. Your wisdom can fight it, saying, no, it's wrong, but sometimes it gives up, and it just does it. And your homemade, like you're saying, can align to it, but your homemade can do something clever as well. It can hide that as well. It can say, right, I'm going to hide that away so no one finds out. That's homemade's. That's the me inside. That's what's doing it. Saying, make sure it's covered up and no one will ever find out. So it can do two things. It can align itself to it, or it can say, right, I know it's bad. We all know that, but don't want anyone to find out. Is there one more group there? Okay, so these are things to remember. Man is gentle and it loves false pleasures. Gentle means where it's fickle, it's just like a monkey mind. Jit is like that, we should use the elephant thing, but it's kator. The word that Guruji uses is kator. Jinke chit kator hai. Kator means when it's stone-like, so that becomes so set in its ways, it becomes stubborn. The buddhi, which is your wisdom, that becomes kapati. Guruji calls that kapati. That is corrupt. So if it's, in theory, our wisdom is corrupt in its own way. So it's not aligned to what the Guru is saying. And that is what Guruji calls kapati. Hirday kapata, mukh gyani, jhutha kaha balovis pani. Guru says, hirda, the buddhi kapata is corrupt. But from the outside looks like it's very intelligent. Mere varge looks like gyani. But jhutha kaha balovis pani, but they jhute hunde, like, you know. And Guruji calls it mela. It's dirty. In other words, it's become separated from God. Mele chit kathor, Guruji kehndे ਆ mele home mela a chit te kathora. So these are just the levels. You know, an action from man is probably less powerful than the action from the chit. So your feelings have got more power than your thoughts. Think of it that way. Your feelings, if you put feeling into something, it's got more power than just a thought coming. Your hirda or your wisdom, that level, has got more power than your feeling has, because it can override that. And your home, the me inside, has got more power than all of them. If that comes into play, that's when we get in trouble. So the action from the lower levels of the mind overpower the actions from the higher parts of the mind. That's the thing to understand. When it's driven by home, me, I'm something, I'm great. You know that kind of driver that you can have. If you're hurt by something, or your ego's actually dented, it's a brilliant motivator to make you do something evil, as you might see on news and stuff like that. It could be a bad thing, but it's a motivator. So just at the levels, the man is at body and thought level, the chit is at memory and feeling level, the buddha is from routine and knowledge and wisdom, and your home is from your character and your values, what you value and stuff. So I'm going to ignore that because I can't remember what it was. So what happens to our Nam Japana is not done with all aspects of the mind. Now when we talked about that, what's going to happen to it? When we said we do Nityanim for a long time, we do something for a long time, and it we don't get any feeling. Guruji says in Uchadasi, when we read Nand Sahib, they har nit kare rasana keha kashuna jani, chit jin ka hir laya maya bolan pairavani. He goes, we're saying har, we're saying Vaheguru from the top. He goes, but the chit, the thing that switches on and off, is off when you're doing that har, but it's on for maya, it's on for the worldly things. So he says that your bolana is worthless, it's not of much use, Guruji is saying. By just talking like that, it's not of much use. So har kare nit kapat kamave, hirda shuddh na hoi, andin karam kare boh tere, supne sukh na hoi. Now Guruji is saying, if your wisdom level, hirda, is corrupt, and you're saying har, because if you're saying har, and you do sins every day, he says your wisdom level is always going to remain corrupt. That buddhi level is always going to stay corrupt. And he says, andin karam kare, even if you try to do good actions day and night, he goes, even in your dream you ain't going to get happiness. So that's the scary slide in terms of we can do all of our things as a routine, and if our routine hasn't got the right kind of application from our mind, then it becomes wasteful. So how do we change it? I'll quickly run through this. So there's some principles about, when we talked about this, we said if we don't understand the Gurbani, that was a valid point. If we don't understand what it's saying, sometimes it's going to be hard to concentrate on it. But even sometimes if you don't understand it, that has still got, if you talk to spiritual Sikhs who've got to a high level, they say it doesn't matter if you're not understanding it, it's still something's happening through it, through a wave. And when it's being sung, when it's being part, when we're doing our part, when we're doing our simran, there's still a wave or an atmosphere is changing. And that still is having an effect. But anyway, the principle is if we understand something first, so you understand why you need to do it, then you think and reflect on it, then you remember it, and then you do it. And that's utilizing all of those parts of your mind. So the first thing is understanding it. Let me take a bad example. If I said to you, I can teach you how to earn $1 million in 3 months, right? Now, first thing you'd say is, tell me how to do it. You'd rather understand it. The second thing you do, you'd reflect on it and say, right, if I do it like this, and it's only going to take me X amount of time, then you'd get it drilled. The third thing you do, you remember it. You say, right, I'm never going to forget that now. I'm going to do that. When I get home, I'm going to start straight away. And the fourth thing is to actually do it. And those things are samaj, soch, chit, krit. So samaj lena, cheez nu samaj leni pehla. Fir sochna about it, thinking about it, reflecting on it. Fir chit vich rakhni cheez. keep it in your chit vich rakhni, and then fir karni. And that's what we're supposed to be doing with the Guru's come as well. When the Guru tells us something, first thing we need to do is understand what the Guru is saying. The second thing is to reflect on it, to say what, why, how can I do that. The third thing is to remember it, and the fourth thing is to put it into your life. And that's how your mind changes. It could be action to do something, or it could be action to give up something. It could even be giving up. We might say, I want to give up doing this type of thing. The first thing you have to do is understand what it is you're trying to give up, why, how, remember it, and then actually do it. And in Bani we say, Sunya, Manya, Man Kita Pao. The Guruji says in Japji Sahib, Pala Sun Liya, that's Samaj Lena, Soj Lena, Manya, accept it. Man Kita Pao. That means to remember it and then to do it. That's pyar, that's love for it. So even uneducated people have to follow this, and examples. TV destroys simran, lust and anger in sangat, that kind of thing. So these are the 5 things that we can do to change our mind. So Gurbani part with attention, that's turbo boost. That will change it. Naam Japana with sangat, Amritullah, and Sandhya means evening. So doing something in Amritullah and evening has an effect. The time that we've just missed now, about 7 to 8 o'clock, it's very important. 6 to 8, somewhere around there. It's a very important time if you want to get your mind into it. But the main time is in the morning, which is summertime is regarded from anything after midnight. But 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the summertime, and it's 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the wintertime. That's the most important times for Gursikh. That Amritullah in the morning, and that generally, if you look at the whole. When you wake up and have a look outside, everyone's asleep because they're getting Guru says lutte jande. In other words, they're getting their mind is overtaking them and destroying them. And what you'll find is your deepest dreams are around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And if you wake up at that time, your mind, if you're trying to control your mind from bad things, it has an immediate effect by waking up at that time. So fear of God and the Guru is absolutely essential. And fear, we'll cover that in more detail. But love for Gursikhs, now this is an important part. Love for someone who's trying to be spiritual. If you show love towards them, that actually has a massive effect on your mind. Massive effect. And Guruji gives us examples in Bani by Gursikhan andar Satguru varta hai, jo Sikhanu loche so Gur khushi aave. If you want Guru's blessing, is to go after the Sikhs who are following that. Guruji says that has a massive effect on your mind. And Bairag, when we talked about Naam, Rang, Bairag is to say, when you're doing it, I don't know, you might see people, when you're doing their part or simran, if the phone rings, they'll go and pick the phone up. And you think, why are they doing? Because they're not really detaching themselves from everything to do that, to take that time out. When you're doing it, it's a good principle anyway. When you're doing anything, right, do it single-mindedly. Do it with one mind. If you're going to eat, just eat. Huh? If you're going to talk about something, you want a conversation with someone, just talk about it. Don't do 5 things. Say, you're talking, you're still saying, I've got to do shopping. When you're doing your simran and you're doing your bani, just do your simran and bani. Don't be going, phone's gone off, television, what am I going to do at 9 o'clock? If you're doing all that, and that is a discipline. To do things with one mind is a discipline. Now, I'm going to break that a bit, because when you move forward, Guruji is saying, don't do anything with one mind, do it with 2 minds. Now, if you read about Bhagat Talochan Ji and Namdev, now that's the best example. But Nama Maya Moya, Kahe Talochan Meet, Kahe Chipo Chile, Ram Nala Vochit. Talochan saw Namdev doing his work. He was a tailor. He was doing his work, and he says, "You're known as a Bhagat," and he goes, "Oh my, you're stuck in all the worldly stuff." He goes, "What's your problem?" But Nama kahe talojna mukte ram samal aad haath vakar kam sab cheet niranjana. He's saying, with your hands and feet, do all the work that you need to do. He goes, but your chit, what we've just been talking about, that on state we're on about, he goes, Niranjana rak. You know that on state we're on about? He goes, just keep the on state with Waheguru. So that your chit is over there. But he goes, do all your kam that you need to do. So sit with your family when you need to sit with your family. But keep it in on state for Waheguru. Do your work that you need to do in your work time. But keep it on state with Waheguru. If you need to talk to someone, go and talk to them. It's not a problem. But keep it on state with Waheguru. So that's... Gurbani is saying do two things. But first start one. If you start with one, start with doing one thing properly. And once you can do those single things properly, you know how it is, even when we talk about problems in marriages, problems in other things, we're sitting, you're talking, but you're not really listening. You're sitting and you're talking, but you're not really listening. You're just talking. I let mine out, you can let yours out, we're not really listening to each other. That's not single-minded. Single-minded, if you're going to sit down and talk properly. If you're going to sit down and eat properly. If you're going to sit down and do Simran properly. If you're going to come to the Gurdwara, come to the Gurdwara properly. I'll say if you want to watch a film, watch it properly, but I'm not going to say that. So if you're going to do it properly. And once you learn single-minded, that I could do that properly now, then at the same time, bring the Simran into it. Then you can talk to whoever you want. You can even sit in front. I'm not condoning anyone's television. You can sit in front of television and be not interested in it. I'll tell you that for free. You can be not interested in it whatsoever, and you can carry doing Simran. You can do that. It's not that hard to do, right? The main thing to think about is when your chit goes into on state, be aware of it. That's what you've got to be aware of it. When's it coming on? And that's either destructive or it's going to be good for you, depending on where it's coming on. And then all our day, we say we do our Nityanim, we do our Simran, we're Sikhs, but it's not come on all day. We've done all the routine, it ain't coming in on state, it's an off state. And Guru, we know what Guruji talks about that. So when we talk about which parts of the mind are messed up, Sikhs don't need to... sorry, we've done all that. I put that slide earlier anyway. But the conclusion is this. So the mind has 4 parts. It's got a man, a chit, a buddh and home. The intention is to use the first 3 to kill home. That's the important part. The first 3, you have to get them so engrossed in what the Guru's wanting us to do that the 4th one dies. To change the mind to change the mind, you have to adopt the 4-step principle of understand something first, think about it, remember it, then do it. And we have to do that. We do that anyway. We do it naturally. When we want to do something like your young kids now, they can use your phones better than you can. And when we talk about going on internet and all these Facebooks and all that, these guys are next level. So we're well behind because they want to understand it. They think about it really quick. They remember how to do it all the time, and they definitely do it. With the kids, we've got that kind of thing. Your phone, you got the swipe to get into the phone, and you just do it once, and he's learnt it. Oh, I know how to get into your phone, and they copied it, because they want it. Their chit is well into it. They're focused. And the way and Guruji uses all of those examples. Because jida pukha, if someone's been hungry for 3 days and they eat, he doesn't sit there watching you saying, right, let's get my manners out, I'll get my little, get the hanky out, get the tissue out. They just eat, right, and it goes everywhere. He says, a lustful person, he don't care who's standing around, he still do a dirty thing and look at someone. When a mother has to look after the child and the child's crying, she don't care what's going on anywhere. She'll quickly attend the child. Because that's what a Gyani does with Simran. When it doesn't matter what's going on. And if you hear Sant Tarsem Singh Je, he goes, a Gursikh, you might drop one thing to do your Kam, you might drop the thing. But he says you drop 1,000 things to do your Simran on time. But we don't do that. We drop 1,000 things to not do our Simran. And make sure all of our worldly stuff's done. He says, drop one thing to do one thing. Drop 5 to do your work. Drop 10. Drop 1,000 to do your Simran on time. But we won't. Then that's jit. That's buddhi. And then the buddhi, if we get that sort of wisdom, all buddhi chaydi santo, the buddhi of all everything else we're doing is pointless. So apply the 5 turbo boosters to achieve your goal. That's applying the Guru's ways. And we've only touched the surface. Gurbani is constantly referencing these to make us understand ourselves. The overall mind extends into hopes, desires, happiness, sadness, virtues, vice. There's all sorts of things going on in here. But these are the four base things. And these other things are coming through these four. And if you understand those four, when we talk about hope and desire, where does hope and desire come from? It's from your buddhi, from your wisdom, but your home might be driving it. Your hope and desire is to say, I'm going to be rich, everyone's going to know my name, and I'm going to be worldwide. Something's driving that, right? And when we say, I'm trying to build a family, I want to be happy, what's driving those things? We don't think hard about what's driving them. Where did we come to that conclusion that you need £1 million? Who told you that? Someone must have told you, But when we talk about you have to meet God, that's a foreign thing to us. But that's what the Guru's telling us. That you're only here, because this body's been given to you to meet God. Now, look how clearly Guru is saying it. Because that's not your objective to be doing anything else. Because you're supposed to be coming to the Sad Sangat and doing Naam Simran. Because you have been given no other target in your life. All the other ones, we made them up ourselves. Someone's told us. That's what the Guru's saying. Now, we got to look at that even from a Gurdwara point of view. We don't come to the Gurdwara to say, Mil Sad Sangat Bhaj Keval Naam. What do we come to Gurdwara for? We say, come to the Gurdwara because I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G of Guru. We got shopping list. We don't come to the Gurdwara, we don't come to the Sangat to do the Simran. We don't come to Sangat to do Bani, Kirtan. We come to Sangat for our pleasures, our own hopes and desires. And they're very fickle. And that's what's driving them, is these four things. And if you can understand that those four things, when we talked about gratitude at the beginning, gratitude's all in there as well. When we talked about happiness, it's all in there as well. When we talked about home, ego, and all those other things about those parent-child states, it's all in there as well. And I'll talk about anything else, hopes and desires, fear, happiness, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, 5 evils, everything that we're doing, they're all happening in there. And we understand those four things, those four layers, you can destroy those things with the Guru's mat. And that's what the Guru's mat is. So we are in more deep water than we think. If our mind is not Uttikadani man, it doesn't stay. It won't sit, it won't listen to that. Then we're in deep water. Because, to summarize, the main thing Guruji says is, when we're about to leave this planet, in other words, when our death comes, he says that last thought that happens before you go, that's an important thought, that is. Jivat sahib sevyo apna chalte rakhyo jeet. Now Guruji says, Jeev de, while we're living, sahib nu sevo apne nu. Guru, serve him. He says, while you're living. When you're about to go, he goes, make sure he's in your chit. Chalte rakhyo jeet. Jadu jana, he has to be in our feelings. He has to be in our memory. We have to be remembering him when we're about to go. The problem is, and you'll see it even with your Rishtedar relatives, I've seen people dying, even at hospital, that kind of thing. The last thing they're going is, where's this person, where's that person? That's a really, really bad thing to be doing when you're about to die. It's a very, very, very bad thing to be doing. So even if you can remember this while we're loopy when we're about to die, if you can remember this, that's a very bad thing to be asking for where this person is. Because they're temporary. And you start thinking about them, a rebirth happens somewhere around that kind of relationship. The Guruji is saying, when you're about to die, we should have done so much in our life, that when that last minute comes, Jit is aligned to it, it's switched on. It's saying, why Guru? It's switched on. And if it ain't switched on, we're in trouble. It's going to be switched on to something else. And that's what that shabd ve antakal jo Lakshmi simre aisi chinta mein jimre ve antakal jo mandir simre antakal jo ladke simre. The Bhagavad Lochan, he's talking about all these things, because at the last minute, if you're thinking about your house, you're thinking about women, you're thinking about your children, you're thinking about whatever he said, if you're not thinking about Waheguru at the last minute, it gets you in trouble. It's going to be a rebirth. So that's the whole point of this man, is you got to, you know, Gurmukh e man liya swar, home vichon kadde vikar. O vichon home kad diti. Gurmukh, if we're Gurmukh, so we come to Gurdwara, the whole point is we're saying, e manu swar liya si. It's made it into something decent. So that when it's time to go, we've got half a chance. Say, right, am I capable of remembering him? And don't do that on the last minute where we're saying, where's my chacha? Where's my daughter? Where's it? Don't do any of that. If you're about to go, you might as well go. If you like through single-mindedness, go single-mindedness. Don't do 2 months there. Do 2 months there, we're in trouble. So I think that's it. So is there any questions on that lovely topic? Anji bhai, Saudi.
I think you probably said it, but what would the 5 term be?
ये जितनी लगाने हाँ जी
if you're Gursikh and like you say you're with Gurbani and you know it's your time, you've got to go and do your part, so you go, but our teaching, Sikhi teachings teaches us that we're also meant to be with our families, live with our families and live a normal life basically. So where do you draw the line?
So it's finding the balance between family and your spirituality is what your question is, isn't it? The main thing is that if you can get a family that's spiritual, you know that old saying, the family that prays together stays together. Did it? If you can get your family that's spiritual, that's the best. Obviously that doesn't happen all the time. So Guruji's given us these hours where if a person ain't into it, they're not awake at that time. If a person ain't into it, they're not awake. So the hours where you're awake, it doesn't affect that other person. So for instance, if we did our Nithanim at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, generally what you'll find is if your family isn't that much into it, they'll be knocked out till about 7. And even in the Puratan Sakhiya, Tirlojan Rani, she used to go to the Sangat at night time and her husband didn't know. He didn't know. She's waking up 12 o'clock, going into Sangat, coming back, going to sleep. He didn't even know for many years. Now, that's not what I'm saying about in terms of what we should be doing, but the main thing is, if you read Raghuveer Singh, his wife never knew anything about what he used to do for many years. He used to wake up, do Simran, do Part, do Nithanim, go sleep. She had no idea why he used to do that. And that's, like I said, that's not the ideal situation, but if your family aren't aligned, sometimes they do draw you back, they do pull you away, but it's about getting strength and having those things about, when we talk about gratitude, and there's a concept of being kind as well. So if someone's trying to pull you back and you do something good for them, it never works in their favour what they're doing. I know multiple examples in life about that. I know. So the main thing is try to get alignment. If you can't get alignment, is to ensure that you're doing it, and do it in a way where it doesn't put, because it's very easy to be stubborn about those kind of things, and that causes problems inside of families as well. You know, I've seen loads of that where, oh no, this is right, you're wrong, end of story. Do it in a way where it's looking favourable for you to do that. But if they're not aligned to it, that doesn't matter. What happens usually is, which what I've found experience-wise, is that once one person does it and people see that person changing, they say, well, whatever they're on, I want that as well. And so it's being a good. It just changes. I mean, I've said it before. When people do Amrit for 4 or 5 months, their faces change. Their faces have changed. They're actually there's radiance coming from them. They might not even know it themselves. There's radiance coming from them, and it's when they go back into their old chit habits again, then the radiance goes away. It normally takes 6 months. Is there any more questions? ठीक है जी, ओके जी, वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा।